Hi Siddesh, a very warm welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, Kripal. Thank you for having me. I'm doing extremely well. It's an energetic Sunday afternoon.
It's an energetic Sunday. You're currently residing in Mumbai, right?
Yeah.
What about the monsoons over there?
well, for me, every morning is an energetic morning. I
Wow.
wake up, I follow a certain lifestyle, and it's energetic for me all the time. You tell me, how are you doing?
I'm also trying to pull along. But I infer that that energy part comes with working in the HR domain. All the people in the HR domain have a lot of energy.
I guess
Always.
I guess we have to be energetic because eventually we are the organization drivers. So
Oh, that's a statement. Exactly. Makes sense. Currently, you got placed as a HR consultant, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so I've been placed in Capgemini as an HR consultant, wherein I'll be looking after the compensation benefits segment of HR.
How did you land that role? Was it exclusively via the campus or was something else involved as well?
Well, I have my graduation in HR itself, and from that time, I had decided that I wanted to be in CNB. So
Wow.
it was a long, long, long planning, and eventually that role came on campus, and I was able to crack it.
Acha, acha. CMB again. What is CMB?
Compensation and benefits.
Acha,
That's the
acha.
short
That's
form. Yeah,
something that laymen like me are not aware of.
you can call it CNB, you can call it rewards,
I see.
different
I see.
names, but
How did you achieve that clarity though of restricting yourself not just to HR but to something even more intricate, CMB?
yeah. So not many people know this, but I have been a professional football player.
Wow.
And yeah, so I've played for Mumbai and Maharashtra and I've achieved medals for both. And if you see the language between sports and HR, it's very translatable. Like in sports, you have got recruitment. In sports, you have got training and development. In sports, you have got individual development plan. In sports, you have got rewards. Everything that is there in sports is there in HR. So while I was researching that what to do with my life, I landed up with HR and I thought that okay, this is something that I've been doing since a very long time, and I've been performing actually well in this. So why not pursue it as a career? Now, coming to the niche part, I had also a little bit of interest in finance. So CNB is such a role that also involves some amount of finance in that. So that is how I decided that this is where I want to be. And it's actually a very interesting profile because if you see, rewards is something that really drives the workforce in the organization. If you have a bad reward scheme, that will mess up the entire organization. We will
Yeah.
speak about this in the upcoming
In greater detail.
time frame. Yeah.
But the analogy on sports, that's something that blew me apart. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen people cite their sports achievements and telling that okay, I arrived at this career because I was good at sports and draw parallel. That's something really nice.
I think what the issue is that whenever people are pivoting their careers, they either they are moving completely opposite or they're not able to find some sort of similarity. So whenever they pivot, they're not able to gain that level of clarity. In my case, luckily or fortunately, I got that clarity while I was pivoting my career, and here we are.
Wow, wow, wow. About pivoting towards that clarity, what about the things that you were missing out on, essentially? What about not zeroing down exclusively on football? Why did that be eliminated as an option?
Well, when you come from a lower middle class family, there are certain things that you have to give up. But it's not like I've stopped playing football completely. I just don't play it professionally. I
It's
do
a
pursue it
hobby.
as my passion, hobby, whatever you want to call it as. So that is how. And even eventually in the future, I have some plans for the sport to give it back to the footballing community. I have my own plans for it. So everything is just well planned.
Probably you'll explore it further on as well. That's
Not explore, I would say, more like I tend to start my own social venture, I would say,
uh-huh.
for the underprivileged children so that they can pursue football as a dream, which I
So,
couldn't do.
yeah, exactly. So that
Yeah.
they don't find themselves in a
So they don't
situation.
find themselves in a situation like this. They can also study on their parents, whatever their situation is, but they can also, pursue the
Have
sport.
football as a career.
Yeah, and the financial aspect and the future aspect should not really worry them, and they should be like, playing the sport with their whole heart. So yeah.
One follow-up question to that will be: we see a lot of poor economies from South America and the rest of the countries in Europe as well, which are
Yeah.
not having that affluent status, but their kids are really promoted to pursue sports and specifically football as a career. But why do you think in India that's not the case?
India, I think football is not prioritized much because it's not making much money for the people out there. Whereas if we talk about cricket, it's generating them a lot of money. So
Brilliant.
I think that discrimination is still there. it is covering up a little bit because the current Indian football players are taking certain initiatives to
Yeah.
fill up this gap, and they're coming forward. They're speaking about it. Even the
Yeah.
Indian cricket team has understood this, and even they are coming forward and speaking for it.
Yeah.
Eventually, slowly, gradually, we will see football coming up. If you see South India, they are really crazy about football.
Absolutely.
I
People
mean,
from
they've got
Kerala and all.
statues of Messi and all of those
Wow.
things that they do during FIFA, whenever the FIFA is going on.
Wow.
So eventually, it will fix itself up.
As soon as India climbs up from rank 99 to rank
Yeah,
10, probably until then we'll
it
have to
will. It
wait.
will happen slowly and steadily, but it
So,
will take some time.
putting aside the football part, let's talk about your career exclusively now.
Yeah,
So, when you were pursuing what do you call undergraduate in HR in Mumbai University, if I'm not wrong.
yeah.
So, what was the experience like? Were you readying yourself for an MBA, or what were the kind of things that you were putting yourself into?
Well, to be very honest, while I was in my undergraduation, I went to a unbranded college because my 12 percentage were in 60s, and I wanted to do BMS because I wanted to do HR, right? For
Yeah.
that, you need an extremely high percentage. So I had to settle for that particular institute or that particular college. But one of the things that I did not let come in my way is that unbranded college. It's because I realized that boss, यहाँ पे अभी हूँ, and I have to work 10 times, 50 times, 100 times harder in order to make myself something so that the unbranded thing gets covered up.
Wow.
So even the thought of MBA was there while I was in my graduation. Along with that, I was also working on a lot of personal development. So that is
Uh-huh.
why if you see right after my graduation, many of the people from my college were unemployed. For
Uh-huh.
me, I wanted to pursue my MBA, so I was preparing. Along with that, I bagged a internship at an extremely big organization, that is Axis Bank.
Nice.
So, even with unbranded college, you can do things like this, but it's just that you'll have to work extremely hard than what a branded person, a person from a branded college would come from. You'll have to work harder than them.
You'll have to reach an equal footing space when you
Yeah,
work incredibly hard. That's that kind of one.
absolutely.
And after your graduation, you worked as an intern at Axis Bank, simultaneously prepared for
I was
the.
preparing, yes. I was preparing for exams. That's when I gave TISNET.
Mhm.
No, TISNET I gave in my third year. I missed out by a small margin. Then I passed out. I was working with Axis. Then I gave CET. I missed out by a good amount of margin.
Uh-huh.
I guess I scored around about 90% or something.
Uh-huh.
Then the next exam that I gave was JBIMS MHRD exam,
Uh-huh.
and I was All India rank 6 in the aptitude test of that particular exam.
Wow. Wow.
So there are some changes that I made, which I
Uh-huh.
will tell at the end of this podcast.
I
So
get it.
let's
I
just,
get it.
yeah.
Let's just talk. And what about the testnet attempt after you graduated? What happened to that?
Testnet, I missed out by a small margin. See, I am a person who
That
walks
was in
with a
third
lot.
year, right? But what
Yeah,
about
that was in
after
third year.
graduation? You didn't
After
try?
graduation, no, I didn't reattempt it because I feel that I would have spent a lot of time into that. I am one of those who works with a lot of plans. If A doesn't work, let's go with B. B doesn't work, let's go with C. And
Yeah.
all my plans are like top notch. So I had this list of colleges that I had targeted. TIS was one of them. I had written it down on my notes as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was IIM ABC. I still remember. It was JBIMS. It was TIS. It was FMS,
Mm-hmm.
high ROI institutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay if this did not work out. Then I gave CET because I told you that I also had a little inclination towards finance. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
let's see if it works out. If that didn't work out, then I again gave JBMS MHRD exam, and I actually made it to the college that I
Dreamt
had
of.
actually written, yeah, dreamt
Dreamt.
of and written them down in my notes.
Yeah.
So
So how does MBA work in JBIMS? Do you have a lot of courses offered there, like masters in finance, masters in HRD, or is it like a general MBA?
So we have got three courses that are offered. One
Mm-hmm.
is the MHRD, that is Masters in Human Resource Development.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is MMS, that is Masters in Management Studies. And then we have MSc Finance, that is Masters of Science in Finance.
I
So these
see.
are the only three courses that are offered at GBIMS.
And these three have different examinations of their own, all the three courses.
Yeah, so for MHRD, there was a different exam altogether up until
Uh-huh.
last year. This
Uh-huh.
year, they are planning to take from CET and CAT.
Mm-hmm.
For others as well, it's for MMS, it's CET, and for MSc Finance, it's CET and CAT.
It's
So,
CAT and CAT. So again, for HRD as well, it'll be only CAT and CAT.
yeah,
Wow, wow, wow.
from this
And
year itself.
and what about the exam structure? Is there any pivotal difference between CET and CAT? I have not
Uh,
appeared for CET, so I have no idea about it. So is CET structurally different from CAT, or is it on the same?
uh, I mean, it's just the difference of level. In CET, you can find that I think LR is a little bit on the lighter note,
Uh-huh.
and quants is difficult, and cat everything is difficult.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense, makes sense. And talking of JBIMS, so after you cleared, after you got AIR 6 in the aptitude exam, what happened after that? You have to sit for an interview or something else follows as well?
So after you crack that, then there is a shortlist. Then you have another 3 rounds. One is the
Wow.
SOP writing.
Uh-huh.
One is the SOP writing. Then there is PI, and then there is GD, and then there is PI. So these
Mm-hmm.
are the 3 rounds that you have to go through.
Mm-hmm. And
And
so, how
then
was the experience like? Yeah.
experience was quite rigorous because there were a lot of competitive candidates out there. But I just kept my hope because I wanted to be here, and eventually I managed to crack it. I will
Yeah.
share my strategy in a while.
Towards the end, we are keeping all
Yeah.
the gold towards the end of the episode
As we move forward with the podcast, we
as
can
we
talk
move
more about
forward.
the GDPR. Yeah.
Makes sense, makes sense. And setting aside JBIMS, were there any other colleges that you landed a seat at?
I got a seat from a tier 2, tier 3 college. I would not like to name it because
Yeah. Makes
that
sense.
was that was after CET. They
Yeah.
were calling me, and I'm like, no, this is not me. I can do much better.
Makes sense, makes sense. And talking of JBIMS again exclusively, so a lot of alumnus from there is, of a very top-notch kind of people. Like, if there are any notable examples that you can think of that are very, I have seen a few people, probably Axis Bank, somebody related to Axis Bank as well,
A
graduated from
lot of people are on extremely high levels
respectable
right now.
positions.
Yeah. If you do, you know Uday Kotak?
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
Uday
that was the
Kotak
man.
is the alum of my college.
Yeah,
Then there is the managing director of McKinsey, who is
yeah.
from JBIMS. So you can just
There's
go
some
scroll through the JB page and you'll find.
There's some lady as well, right? There's some lady as well. I'm not able to recollect her
Uh,
position, but she's also pretty famous in the corporate world.
are we talking about Chanda Kochar?
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. But she got. Let's not go into her trajectory
let's
currently.
just let's just keep the negatives aside, but let's focus on the brighter part of what she actually achieved after passing out from
Represented well.
JBIMS.
Yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
she did, I don't want to get into that whole debate, but that was her personal choice, maybe in her personal life,
Everybody
whatever
has.
that she did. Yeah.
Uh, Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Probably we'll get to see on the respectable alumnus you soon as well. We'll
I
get
hope
to
so.
see that.
I hope so.
But yeah, if there's one rumor among all of the aspirants out there about JBIMS is the fact that it's pretty elusive in a selection process. That people feel that a lot of things happen under the table with it. So what do you have to say about it?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever someone is not able to get something, they get they get extremely frustrated and they'll just become a keyboard warrior on the internet
Exactly.
instead of focusing on making themselves better.
Brighter
I think
aspect.
this is the mistake that most of the candidates make. And
Yeah.
whoever have been putting out these narratives about under the table and all of these things, I have seen them personally. They have not landed any tier 1 B school or any top 10 B school in the country.
Whoa.
It's a fact.
That's a
It's a
one.
fact. It's a fact. I mean, you have wasted all of your time being a keyboard warrior just
Complaining.
because you couldn't crack an exam. It's not JB's fault. It's I mean, during CET also a lot of things go wrong, but
Yeah.
the institute is not really at fault, so you can't
Yeah.
blame them.
And there's no scope of malpractices what
There's
you
no scope of malpractices. I mean, there are cases that are going on that you have done malpractice and you have selected this candidate, but all those cases are just out there.
out in the air. Yeah. And why is the college named JBIM? Is like Jamnalal Bajaj was the founder, the honorable man, or something else is the
He was
picture?
not a founder, but he was an industrialist at that time during the time of independence, and he was working
Ach,
extremely closely with Mahatma Gandhi.
acha,
So that is why the institute was named as Jamnal Bajaj.
acha. And about its legacy, it's intact right since 1950s, and is it a government institution or an
Uh,
autonomous
it's
institution?
it's a government. It was a government institute, but now it's moving towards autonomous.
Autonomous
Majorly,
institution.
I feel because of this reason of under table practice and all of these other things that they have. because no matter how much ever you try, I think it is somewhere impacting the brand image of the institute. Every
Precisely.
time, yeah, every time CET messes something up, it directly comes onto the
Everybody
brand
comes
image of
at
the
the
institute.
JBIMs.
Yeah, so I think
That's
that's a
really sad.
wise decision and that's a wise choice.
And about JBIMS, so do we expect the fees to increase as well as a result of it becoming autonomous?
Well, it might increase a little bit, but not by that margin. It will still be one of the institute with higher ROIs.
High ROI. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Currently the fees is 6 lakhs per annum, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken,
yeah, yeah.
for all the three courses.
For no, for HR it's 7 lakhs.
Mm-hmm.
For MMS it's 6 lakhs, and I think for MFin also it's 6 lakhs.
MMS sounds a little weird, right?
Yeah,
Master
Master in
Classes.
Management Studies.
But yeah, so it's 7 lakhs in the average package. The median package is somewhere around hovers around 25, etc.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It
25.
climbs up, and
And
it's
let's
improvising year by year. So that's one plus.
it's improving year by
Yeah.
year. That's a good thing to know. And talking a little more about the placements in detail. So, what are the domains that most of the people get absorbed in? Like if we talk of MMS
Hmm.
first, where do they land a job at?
Well, I would not segregate these three courses differently. I would just give you a general perspective on which domain takes a lot of candidates. Number one is consulting. Number
Consult.
two, yeah, number two would be BFSI,
Mhm.
and followed up by manufacturing and FMCG.
I see.
So
And the
these are the
three
domain that,
courses, yeah. And the
yeah.
three courses have a joint placement process.
So the placement process is different to avoid a lot of hassle,
Uh-huh.
but eventually there is a lot of inter-communication going on between the committees to help each other out with the placement. Let's
Uh,
say if the MMS team reaches
and
out
better
to a HR
farms.
company, they'll
Hmm.
just send it here, we will send them, and
That's
that's sort of
synergy.
worked out.
That's synergy
Yeah.
coming up. And so, what is the batch size of every course out there?
So for MSc Finance, it's 40. For
Uh-huh.
HR program, the current batch is of 30, and MMS it's 150.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Only
So
30 kids for HR. That's
yeah.
very less.
So yeah, for my batch was just 20. In fact, they increased the seat by 10 for the
Whoa,
current batch, like the
whoa.
next batch, because the course was performing well, and they thought that why not?
Well, why not increase the intake? But still, 30 is a very small number.
Small
Like, what's
number,
the
yeah.
rationale?
I mean, their main focus was majorly on producing good quality candidates. They didn't really focus much on quantity. Even if you see the overall intake of JB is like what, 200?
Exactly
200.
half of what
Yeah,
IIMs taken. Yeah,
yeah, half of what IIMs take. 200 from the entire country.
exactly.
Yeah, so they are only focused on quality. They don't want to do a lot of masses wala thing. So
I get it. I get it. But why don't we find JBIMS among the top HR institutes, though, along with the likes of XLRI and TIS? Why is
yeah.
JBIMS not reaching the top?
So JBIMS as an institute has been famous for finance. Later
Hmm.
on, it also got famous for marketing.
Hmm.
HR is a new course for them,
Hmm.
and in just 3 years, if you see, the highest of HR has went up till 26 lakhs
Wow.
in just 3 years, because my batch is the third batch. So it's
Hmm.
been just three batches of HR. So
Hmm.
eventually, that will start catching up in the coming future. If you talk about TIS and XLR, they have been in industry since the very long time now. Since
Half
a
a
very long time.
century now.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
almost I think more than 50 years they have been in the industry.
Exactly. More than 50 years. That
So
makes sense. And about the exposure college wise, you get to be. Where's the campus located though? What's the location of campus of JBIMS?
so the campus is in Churchgate, near
Church.
Marine Drive, which
Yeah.
is very famous in Mumbai.
Exactly, exactly. So I guess the cost of the actual campus must be very, very, very meteorically high, given that it's near
Yeah,
Marine Drive.
right now the valuation is high,
Wow.
but at that time it started so many years
In
ago. That time,
1950s, so it
yeah,
must not have been that pricey.
not even that. In fact, a lot of it is surrounded by a lot of banks as well.
Acha. Acha,
So
that's the reason BFSI is coming in for
yeah,
recruiting
yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now
Makes
slowly, all those companies started to move to another location, but again, JB will always be known for finance.
Wow. And JB's campus, talking to you, even I had the habit of calling it JB. But JB's campus is, how big is it? Like, is it big enough for all of you
It's
to have
not
a
a big
color time?
campus. It's not a big campus. It's just one simple building
Concept
with
building.
200 students studying.
Wow.
That's it.
There's no ground, etc. There's no
No, there's no
cafeteria.
fancy stuff. Canteen, there is a small canteen, but
Uh-huh.
not as the fancy stuff that other institutes have.
This is a no nonsense college. I get it. No campus,
No
nothing.
nonsense college. Come
And what
here,
about the
yeah,
yeah
come here, study with us, and go shine.
and
That's
leave?
it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
What about the hostel? Where's the hostel located?
Hostel is also in the same locality,
Uh-huh.
nearby the JV campus itself, and the hostel is extremely good. It's actually kind of sea facing,
Wow,
and
it's
it's
sea facing.
cheap. And it's cheap. I think it's a few thousand for a year. I'm not sure.
Few
around
thousand
about
per year.
2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
For a sea-facing room, and people must not be sharing it as well, right? Just a
It's
single
it's
person.
it's a sharing one. I think it's a two or three sharing one, and when you become senior, I think it becomes
Single
duo
thing.
sharing or single sharing. I think.
Single share. Wow,
Yeah.
wow. But for a sea-facing room, paying in thousands for a year, that's a bloody good deal. That's something of a remarkable deal.
Yeah, I mean there have been talks that JB campus might shift, but let's see now.
Acha,
Even
JB
they
campus
are planning
shifts.
to shift to a bigger campus, but it's just in the talks right now. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll take a lot of time, but given the fact that only 200 number of people come there to study,
Yeah.
and
Then
the fact that it's
eventually,
a
I think
no-no
they might also increase the intake with time once it becomes completely autonomous and everything
wow.
is in their hands.
It's,
So
it's it's been functioning since 70 years now, but there have not been a lot of incremental changes,
yeah, yeah.
except for the addition of HR course, which happened 3 years
Hmm.
back.
Right. Perfect.
Probably when the management team takes up the autonomous thing seriously, maybe then
Yeah.
things will happen.
Then they will start.
And about the pedagogy now, so we have 200 people, all of them in the same college. What are the amount of classes that you take? And is it Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday?
Well, JB is extremely rigorous. There are
Oh,
gonna be times where you'll have to be in the college even on Sundays.
wow. Wow.
So yeah, it's a rigorous institute.
And the classes start from 9 in the morning and go up until?
Well, that sort of changes. Sometimes it's also at 7 in the morning. Sometimes it's
Wow.
because we have got all the industry faculty coming and teaching us.
Yeah.
Specifically speaking, for the HR course, we have got CHROs, we have got head HRs, we have got people from consulting backgrounds who have spent 15, 20 years into consulting coming and teaching. So a
Wow.
little bit time shifts keeps on
Wow. Wow.
happening,
Wow.
but yeah,
What is the
it's
maximum threshold until which the classes go though? 5 in
uh,
the evening?
yeah. There have been
7
times
to
we have
5.
sat for like 12 hours of lectures as well.
OMG. Now I get the no nonsense thing, man. Oh,
I mean, if
this is
even
really
if
too
you're
much.
not even if you're not in the lecture, you will get some sort of activity that has been allotted to you. Let's say some sort of case study that you have to do. Then you go run to the library with your group and then solve that case study and then present
Wow.
that case study in the upcoming class.
Wow.
So
That's pretty hectic for a master's in human resources student. It's
yeah,
even more hectic than the MBA program at IIM Bangalore actually. Wow.
I'll tell you what. That's where JBIMS MHRD programs sort of shines, right? They just don't want to produce HR professionals. They want to produce HR professionals who are
Managers.
also who are also extremely good with business.
Wow.
So if you see our curriculum, the first year is about general subjects wherein we learn marketing, supply chain operations, etc.,
Oh,
etc. All those general subjects that are there, that should be there in the MBA course. And second year is the HR proper HR thing.
So
So
that's like a general MBA in the first year and then a HR specialization in the
yes,
second.
yes. So we get best of both worlds. In
Exactly.
fact,
That,
for a fun fact, some of our students have also been placed in marketing roles with good companies.
wow.
So
Pursuing a master's in HR and then getting placed in a marketing role.
yeah,
Wow.
because they were good at that and the recruiter found them extremely good, so they just picked them up. They're like, fine, we'll have them.
That's so one sec. So you told that the placement process is not amalgamated for all the three courses.
Yeah,
So for masters in HR, marketing companies land on the campus.
yeah, I mean, there's no harm in giving them a chance, right? We can always ask for a chance, that like, give our students a chance, let's see if they land up, because some
Makes sense.
students are actually interested that I also want to explore a little bit of marketing. Then we are like, okay,
Wow,
fine.
wow. And the institute doesn't constrain you in whatsoever manner. Like
No, they won't.
XLRI puts this constraint, right? That you
I think
can't sit for marketing firms.
we can.
Wow, wow. That's an added advantage. But
But
talking
it's
of
just
the,
that,
yeah,
yeah, it's just that it's in the hands of the placement cell to convince that company that okay, HR students can sit for marketing.
wow,
So
wow.
that's where the role plays out well. If you're able to convince, they're ready, and then that's how you move forward. But there is no constraint as such on paper.
You're a part of the placement cell as well, right?
I was, yeah.
You were. And expecting you not to abrogate the non-disclosure agreement that you must have signed on in your initial phase, I would want a few details. Is that it's completely run by the students. There's no intervention of the faculty whatsoever.
Well, we do have a training and placement officers to
Uh-huh.
whom we have to report. Rest everything is done by students, like from
Everything.
everything.
Uh,
Even the company comes on campus, from the arrangements to everything is done by the students.
is there a
Zero
student?
intervention.
Is there a student body fund in place as well? Like many high on ROI colleges have this concept.
Well, we can get our budgets approved, whatever budget we need for that particular year, let's say 40,000, 50,000, 1 lakh. So we'll have
Yeah.
to put those paper up for approval and then it gets approved.
But
Again, we
no,
have to report that.
But apart from the fees, a student isn't supposed to pay anything to be a
No,
part of
no, no,
the.
no, no, not at all.
So
No,
this
nothing.
is something that happens at FMS and the rest of the colleges in DU, where apart from the fees, you're supposed to pay 50,000 a year extra for being
That's
eligible for the placements.
that's sad.
That is one. Makes sense.
Because
And
at JB, I'll tell you what, at JB we don't look at placements as something, extremely big. It's just a facility that comes with JB.
wow,
JB is more focused on
about the
academics
education.
and quality.
Wow, wow, wow.
Placement comes, they feel that the placement
Placement is
comes as a,
secondary.
yeah, byproduct. If you study with us, you're gonna get placed anyway. So that is how they look at placements as. They don't
But
look at placement as a major prioritized thing that, oh, you have
wow.
to get this or get that.
But it's really appalling when we go out there in the Indian market and see that every college is judged on the metrics of placements exclusively, right? When we see JBIMS only, we see that okay, placement high on ROI. Okay, that is the only impression we have.
Only
That's
thing.
faulty. We need to
That's
change that.
extremely faulty. I think aspirants need to stop treating MBA institutes as placement agencies in the first place. When you वो नहीं वो कौन सा movie है वो Three Idiots, run behind
Exactly.
excellence and success will follow.
Yeah.
If you look at B schools as a place wherein I learned something very interesting on YouTube the other day.
Please.
Yeah, so it changed the whole perspective of looking at B schools, right? Whenever you're joining a B school, look out for cash, and by cash, not money. It's KASS cash, which is knowledge, abilities, skills, and habits that you
Wow.
will be developing when you're in a good B school.
Wow.
All of these things will follow up whenever you have landed your job. So you have to focus on these things, and you have to see whether that B school is able to offer all of these four aspects to the students or not.
Exactly.
Placements will follow. If you are a good candidate, like I said, I did my undergraduate from an unbranded college, but eventually I landed on such a big brand like Axis Bank, and I was working directly with the assistant vice president of Axis Bank.
Wow.
So that will follow if you run behind your personal development. So that's the
That's
whole
a
thing.
testimony of your hard work as well.
Yeah.
Whatever you
Yeah.
put in. And about the cash part, eventually your career will be made on the foundational block of
Yeah,
cash.
these are the four foundations. That's the cash. That's the
Let's not be
cash for
bothered
which
about
you should
placements
join a B school for.
exclusively. Talking of that cash, I guess I'm forbidden from talking of the other cash, the actual cash aspect in the placements. Like, okay, at least if I can get the average and median figures of your placements this year of HR.
All of for HR, the median has went up till I think it's around 18 to 19 lakhs. I think the placement report is already out. The highest is 26 lakhs.
And for MMS?
For MMS, I think the highest would go around 50.
50. Domestic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, domestic.
And average would be hovering around 25, 20
I think they have not yet published the report, so I don't know much, but I'm assuming
MMS
that
is still
50.
awaiting
Yeah.
the reports. And by any chance, are there students who go unplaced as well?
Well,
Not
please.
voluntarily. Not voluntarily. Yeah.
Oh, there are gonna be students who stay unplaced, but eventually that they will land up a job, because no institute in this entire country will say that we will give you guaranteed placement, because placement is something that
It's
is
subjective
an
to the company.
individual. Yeah, not just company, but companies. There are ample amount of companies coming for JB. I mean, there are times when we don't have to call companies. Companies would approach us themselves that we want to hire from your institute. But
Wow.
I think in the end, it simply boils down to your individual effort that you're putting in, right?
The way you're polishing your CV.
Yeah, I'll tell you a fact. Whenever you are coming from a good B school, it is a boon, but it's also a curse, because the moment you start interacting with the people from the industry, they look at you in a very different
Oh,
way.
he's a hotshot graduate from JB.
Yeah,
He must be
JB.
having a lot of knowledge.
Now he's in my this thing. Now I'll grill him a lot.
Wow.
So they look at you with by a very different, different
Skepticism.
skepticism.
Let's bring him down and all of that.
Yeah.
That's a perspective. And given the fact that if you don't have enough cash, asset,
And you are lost,
follow.
then you are out.
Wow.
I mean, I genuinely feel that campus placements and all of these things is just stage one. Eventually, the market decides where you end up. The market will decide your valuation. Even today, if you as a candidate have landed up the highest placement, the market will decide 5 years down the line. Yeah, 5 years down the line, the market will be like, "Bhai, you were overvalued at that time. We can't offer you this amount of money right now."
Exactly like football.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly like football.
Neymar was overvalued, went to PSG, Farmers League.
And then gone.
Exactly. Makes sense.
How
Makes sense.
everything works.
And coming back to the pedagogy part though, so you mentioned that the lectures last for at least, I mean, in many cases until 12 hours long.
Yeah.
So what's a typical lecture like? What do the professors teach you about?
Well, like I mentioned, that all of those guys are industry experts. So the sessions are mostly case study based, rigorous case study based. Then there is followed up by presentation, followed up by a perspective sessions wherein they share their perspective on those particular case studies. That's how the session goes on. So all the learnings, they don't actually teach you, but they train you, because they don't call themselves as teachers, they call themselves as trainers, that we are not here to train. Even most of the faculties have connected with the MHRD course solely for this reason, that we want to do something different than what other top schools for HR are doing. So we are
Wow.
trying that. So that's why they are imposing their perspective. They're bringing in a lot of people. Like, let's say, for example, if this one time we had this head HR conducting one lecture, and in one of the lecture he had gotten consultants from outside to give their perspective to us, that how things work in real sense. So this is how the lecture
They
goes.
train you to think on certain lines. That's what you're implying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's an innovative way of pursuing education. What are you marked on then? What's the marking scheme like at the college?
Well, to be very honest, these people don't really care about marking. They care about excellence. They'll give they are
You're giving
very,
me one, what do you call, ideal statement after another. They don't care about marks. They care about excellence.
they care
Wow.
about quality. They care about students. They'll be like, you want marks, I'll give you marks. But if you fail in life, never ever say that I taught you.
Wow. But still, how do they mark you? Like they mark
So
you on
yeah, so
presentations.
there is internal assessment, there is external assessment. External is of 60 marks and internal is of 40 marks. 50% is the passing. You have to score 50% minimum to pass.
Yeah, yeah. And the external is like the typical pen paper exam where you
Yeah,
sit and
typical pen
crunch
paper.
over
Even
all the
that is
books.
in most scenario, that is also case study based. So it's not like your typical
It's not
definition
like
or
mugging and cramming all of that.
nah, nah, nah. Some subjects yes, because there is no choice, but
There's
majority of the
technicality
subjects
involved.
are, yeah, it's all about case studies and writing down your perspective
You
into the.
mentioned you mentioned that the professors give a lot of weightage to the excellence part. Apart from having streamlined lectures and apart from trying to make you think on a certain line, how do they make sure that you are really excellent? That how will you do good at life? That is something that really caught my attention.
Well, that's what I said, right? So they conduct a lot of case studies, and they make you work on case study, and eventually with practice you improve that. So they make sure of that everyone is doing well and everyone is doing fine. So this is their approach of doing things, and they have given us this liberty that even after you have passed out and any time in life you need any sort of help or you're stuck in a situation, you can reach out to us. So they are
Hope
with
it's not a
us.
situation of Chanda Kochar though,
No.
where she's stuck in embezzlement.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah,
Yeah.
this is really contrary to what I get to hear from a lot of B schools out there. That professors are focusing on making you think on a certain line. About the
Yeah.
case studies part, though, does it give you a comparative advantage when you participate in the competitions across the country?
It
When you
does,
have
because
such a
you're
great background?
already used to solving so many case studies and all of these things. It does give you slight advantage, because that's something you're doing on a regular basis, on a daily
Daily
basis.
basis.
Yeah, so it does give some sort of advantage.
Like wow, wow, wow. And apart from case studies, apart from being that support, is there any other learning beyond the classroom that happens?
Well, beyond the
Anything else?
classroom, yeah. So we do a lot of simulations as well. Like,
Ach,
I think if I were to give you an example, it was law lecture, I guess. So the faculty had, elected by himself that you become the judge, you become the prosecuting officer, you become the culprit, and
yeah,
the rest of the classroom is sitting behind, and we are like
yeah,
performing.
yeah,
And at every stage, whatever we are speaking, he's explaining this is not how this should have been said. Whatever I am saying, okay, this is not how a prosecuting officer speaks.
yeah,
This is what he says instead. This is how the
yeah.
whole setup is. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting.
But what would an HR professional do by knowing this?
No,
That how does the
actually,
courtroom?
yeah. Actually,
Okay, is he
HR,
preparing you for the Chanda Kochar case?
I'll tell you, HR professional needs to know a lot of legal side of things, because
Yeah.
employment contracts, all of these things are under HR, right? Even if you want to design a reward scheme, that has to comply with the law, with the legal system. You
Mhm.
can't just give any reward to anyone just like that, right? Everything has to comply with law.
Makes sense.
So there's that.
So basically, making you enact that courtroom scene has a lot of implications ahead as well. Wow, wow.
I mean,
And
it might happen that even you as an organization or you as an HR might end up in a courtroom because candidates, there are different types of candidates.
uh,
Some candidates just decides, no, I will drag him to the court for something extremely stupid. So you have to be well equipped that, okay, this is nothing. I'll just handle it on my own. I
uh,
don't need a fancy lawyer or to spend that much amount of money.
and
I know
HR
what's going
professionals
to
are
be there.
pretty susceptible as well to such
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
makes
You have to be well equipped. In today's time, I think it's extremely important to learn the legal side of things.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
how you will be able to survive longer.
Wow, wow, wow. Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. And about the extracurriculars part beyond the classroom, what are the clubs and committees like? Do you get to take care of your football adventures at JB?
There are clubs and committees that look after the arts and sports stuff. So just like any other B school, there are also a lot of
There's nothing
committees.
special about it at JB.
And
That's what
nah,
it is. Yeah.
it's more on the education side here.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense, makes sense. And about you getting to organize fests and stuff, are the fests really of some kind, or there are no fests altogether?
Fests are there, but they don't happen at a regular interval, and they are very small internal, small
Internal
fests.
fests.
Yeah.
So
So
other colleges have fests where a lot of people from outside come in, but you guys cater to your own kids.
that is
That is
going
how.
to change very, very soon because while we were passing out, we had a word with the course coordinator and even the director for that matter. So now they are planning a bigger fest this
Wow,
time. So hopefully we'll also get to see it extremely soon.
makes
It will be on
sense.
Unstop for sure. So everyone will know.
Makes sense. And about the industry exposure part, apart from industry experts coming there to deliver lectures,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you guys do to, be well attained with whatever the values of
Yeah,
HR system?
so we have good amount of liberty to pursue live projects with the organization. There is also summer internship that is there that gives us the industry exposure. And coming from JB, you also get that sort of projects and that sort of roles wherein you actually drive some result into the organization. So there is that. And
The
also,
results of which you can see actively and
yeah,
monitor.
apart from this, we also have one seminar paper each sem. Seminar paper is a research based project. You
Mm-hmm.
can choose any topic that you want, be it legal, economical, whatever you like, and you have to write a research paper on that particular topic.
Wow,
So
wow,
that is
wow.
something that beyond a classroom, and it has to be like proper research based. You just can't, do chat GPT and copy paste things. It has to be backed. It has to be backed up by surveys and all of those things.
That's
Else
left to
how
your
it's all, yeah,
discretion, though. What do you choose to do it on?
yeah.
Makes sense, makes sense. And if I had another question about how you guys go about organizing whatever the activities are, like, when I talk of curriculum expertise, when it comes to tests, they have these field trips. They have 4 internships altogether. That's a
Yeah.
different thing. But does JBIMS also have field trips, etc.?
We do have field trips, but this is something that the coordinator takes care of. If you want to
Mhm.
visit an industry, you have to put up a small proposal and they'll just sanction
All
it.
the students agree for
Yeah,
it, and then
yeah,
things go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah.
But there's
The
nothing
response.
compulsory that okay, you have to
No,
do
no, no.
this.
There's nothing compulsory.
Acha, acha,
I
acha.
mean, it's a student-driven institute. If the students are interested, college will say, okay, we are fine. Go wherever
Wow.
you want.
Every college
If
at the end of the day
yeah,
is a student-driven institute.
want
Nice.
to go see a manufacturing plant, okay, we'll speak to them, we'll collaborate with them. You all can go visit, learn, come back. But when you
Wow.
come back, make sure that you present
You
it to
have
us.
learnings from there.
Yeah.
You didn't go there to have a gala time.
Yeah,
You have learnings from there.
you have to
Makes
learn.
sense. And what is the batch like? Is there a lot of diversity, or is everybody a man of the same field?
There is quite a lot of diversity. We also, urge people from the LGBTQ community to apply for our MHRD program at least.
Uh-huh.
So we do invite a lot of applications,
I,
and
I mean, I
it
was not
is
talking
quite
of
diverse.
gender. I was talking of the other domains.
So like
I do get
engineering
it that gender is the
management.
hot topic right now, but yeah.
Yeah, so engineering it does dominate, but
Uh-huh.
there are also people from other streams coming from arts, commerce. Like I come from commerce,
Yeah. But
so yeah,
but engineering is dominant even in HR.
yeah,
That's a surprise. Engineers dominate everywhere they get a chance.
everywhere. I mean, find jobs related to your field, please.
Exactly. But that's the problem with a country like India, right? It's a
Yeah,
service based country. It's not a
service-based
manufacturing
country.
based country. That's the
That
problem. But yeah, so given 50% of the 30 kids batch is engineers, that's what you're trying to say.
yeah, around about 50%.
And the rest of the 50% is from commerce, arts. And is there
Commerce.
somebody from something really abstract? Like, something like political science honors or English honors
Uh, I think there is someone from English honors from the junior batch.
from the junior batch?
So yeah.
Acha, acha,
So
acha.
one or two here and there are it's
There
just
are
everywhere.
people of that
Yeah.
kind, yeah. There are these cases, makes sense.
Yeah.
So now coming on to one of the many important questions that we had lined up towards the end of the episode. Given that JBIMS has one of the highest ROIs in the country, like 6
Yeah.
lakhs per year, 12 lakhs for the entire program. When you compare
No,
it
no,
with
no,
the
it's
leading,
6 lakhs for 2 years.
it's 6 lakhs for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's even better. That. Then maybe we can have it in the same what do you call threshold as FMS. We can
Yeah.
have it in the same
Yeah.
category as
Yeah.
FMS for comparison. So do you think there are any structural disadvantages when we compare it with the leading IIMs, IIM Black Eye, when you talk of
Well,
JBIMS?
IMs have had that advantage of having a higher brand value in the market.
Ever
Apart
since
from that,
inception?
yeah, I think it's about IIM Ahmedabad, wherein they give out T-shirts of PGP1 Survivor to their students.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's IIM Ahmedabad. So a little bit of here and there is there. I'm not saying that JB is not rigorous, but they are just a step ahead.
A step ahead.
JBIMS is somewhat similar to IIM Indore and IIM Kozhikode, if I'm not wrong, when
Uh-huh.
it comes to the
Given the fact that
overall.
finance is a specialization.
Yeah, yeah. When I speak with an overview,
Yeah.
but I think other IIMs could be better than JBS.
Apart from the brand image, is there anything else that marks the difference?
Well, brand image, the companies that they get, the roles that are offered there, uh, I
Are a
think,
little better.
yeah, are a little better. Like,
But
let's say if JB, we have got 10 consulting companies in Ahmedabad, you might have 20 consulting companies.
I see.
So that is the difference.
That makes sense. But given the fact that we narrow our conversation down to cash, KSH, then
Yeah,
you guys are on
you
a
go to any
equal
B
footing.
school. I'm not just talking about JB or Ahmedabad. Even if you go to a tier two, tier three B school,
Yeah.
there has to be one realization that you'll have to work harder
Hmm.
than a lot of
To reach
candidates
their
out.
vantage point.
Yeah, it's all about cash.
Makes sense. It's all about cash. Yeah. Makes
It's
sense.
about
Makes
cash.
sense.
And
I saw.
yeah,
Yeah. Please, please.
yeah. So it was more about the preparation part that I wanted to speak. Even while preparing, candidates make a lot of mistakes, and some of the mistakes are they try to overcomplicate things, right? Me as a person, I try to keep things extremely simple, be it the interview preparation or GD preparation or whatever exam you're preparing. I feel that simplicity is the key. If you
Wow.
try to overcomplicate it, by using a lot of jargons, reading a lot of articles about preparation, you will have the pressure of remembering all of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what I feel is that you'll just have to keep things extremely simple. Even if you're appearing for an interview, speak very simple English. That way you'll be able to articulate your facts extremely well, your facts or whatever work you have done, you'll be able to communicate it well. So there is that. And also, another mistake a lot of candidates make is that with the quality of output. And it's like let's say you give cat and you have got the highest percentile, but if you mess up in the GDPI round, you're just out.
Exactly.
Yeah, even in JB this happens. In MHRD course, I could be all India rank 6, but if I wouldn't have performed in the GDPI round, I would have been out. I would have then had to settle for that tier 2 tier 3 institute that I had converted a seat at. So
Makes sense.
everything boils down to your simplicity of preparation. I also feel that you as a candidate really need to fix things on a psychological level even before getting into the technical preparation,
Uh-huh.
because the thing is that whenever you're starting to even prepare for an MBA examination in the first place or a GDPI round in the first place, you need to make some lifestyle changes into your life. I'll quote something from the Gita. You know, right? The holy book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Of course,
Yeah.
who
So
doesn't?
the book speaks something about controlling your senses. So every human have five senses:
Uh-huh.
your listening, smelling,
Yeah.
seeing, speaking, and your touch sense. These are like
Touch.
five senses, and these are the senses through which a lot of things get inside of your brain. So you have to master those things. You have to limit the garbage of content that you consume.
Yeah.
Uh, if you really want to excel at GDPI, and not just excel at the GDPI round, even if you want to excel your placements after you have converted a good B school, because that is extremely important. You have to land a good summer internship. You have to land at a better, amazing placement. So so the thing is that when you control your intake of garbage, because the logic is extremely simple. If garbage in, garbage out, right? Quality in, quality out. I'll give you an example. When I entered JB, I cut down on a lot of crap content that I used to consume on YouTube. I mean,
Yeah.
the meme videos and all of things, and I shifted my focus towards podcasts. I
Yeah.
used to watch a lot of podcasts, and I still do. I love watching podcasts. So, I'll give you an example also, so that people don't think that I'm speaking in thin air.
Yeah.
I think it was time of summer internship. I had applied for internship off campus. It was a very big Tata brand. I won't reveal the segment. It was a very big Tata brand. Okay. So I cleared first round of interview because that's a very basic introduction round. And second round, I got a call from the head HR of Tata, one of the Tata company's head HR, and the interview was going extremely well. And there came a pivotal question wherein he asked me, what was the most interesting thing that you learned recently? This is a pivotal question. I mean, the way that I answered this question, now prior to this particular day, I had watched one podcast of Kunal Shah, the CEO and founder of Cred,
Great.
wherein he was narrating his story of how he came up with Cred. I
Yeah.
simply copy pasted the story and told it to that guy that this is something that I learned recently. And
Yeah.
you won't believe the next 15-20 minutes that guy spent in convincing me why I should be joining his organization.
Wow. Wow.
These are just small changes that you have to make during your preparation journey. If you don't, then a lot of things will go down for you. I think even before getting into the technical preparation, it's more about preparing yourself psychologically, making these small changes into your life. So,
Psychologically.
psychological changes are extremely important. I'll also quote
Sensible
some,
consumption of content.
yeah, sensible consumption of content. Along with that, also making yourself mentally strong. A lot of classes guys won't tell you this. They'll only tell you join my quant whatever course and you will be 100%iler. But what they fail is to articulate it to the candidate that it's a psychological process first.
It's a game
You
of
have,
resilience.
yeah, you have to win the psychological game first. I was having a discussion with one of the faculties at Bajaj, and he had quoted one of the research that he had read, which goes something like an average human being can hear you cannot do it only 5,000 times before they actually start believing it. 5,000 times, ठीक है. अभी वो ऐसा लग सकता है कि ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा बार है, but if you actually look about it, not directly you can do it, but even in indirect ways, like this is not for you. ऐसा if you analyze from your school times, so on an average, a person listens to this shit for like a lot of 1,000 times. I think a lakh or something like that. And that is what hinders with their preparation. Because if from childhood, from school, I've been told that quants is not for you, quants is not for you, quants is not. Now I have grown up believing that. How do I get out of that mindset now?
Exactly.
Right? So all of these are psychological challenges that you have to overcome first before you even get into any sort of preparation, or else you'll simply be stuck in the Bermuda Triangle of preparation.
Exactly. A lot of content is coming in, but then it's getting stunk in without knowing where it is going.
There is no quality output. You're not able to process the quality, right?
Because it's a
To give
mindset
a
game.
good output. Yeah. First you win the mindset game and then you get into the preparation. So
Makes
there is
sense.
that.
And about the part where you mentioned about simplicity. At the end of the day, simplicity is the ultimate form of
Keep
sophistication.
everything simple. I mean, keep everything simple. Your communication. Let's just be honest. English is not our language. It's a
Exactly.
foreign language. If you, a lot of people will tell you, oh my God, use these fancy jargons in the interview and you will
That's
really
stupid.
look extremely smart. Yeah, that's stupid. It may happen that the interviewer may not even understand what that word meant. It may happen you don't know. Speak simple English. The simpler English that you speak, the more confident you will look, the more confident you will sound, the more better you'll be able to articulate your thoughts.
Exactly.
I mean, don't just read some strategy on LinkedIn and directly use it on the D-Day. That's an extremely idealistic approach, and the most common mistakes I've seen candidates make. They pick up that strategy and directly use it on the D-Day. But what they don't realize is that whoever is posting that person has practiced that strategy for a really long time.
Yeah.
And
And
you,
that's a
on
pretty
the other hand,
subjective thing to them as well.
yeah, you on the other hand, you are picking it up, you are making it of your
Just the
own, and
night
you are
before.
using it a night before your interview. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Stick to your simplicity. That
And
will get you through.
another thing, do you think the language of the corporate should no longer be English? That acts as a barrier when I see it all the individuals who are actually really smart and intelligent, but they are not perceived as intelligent because they can't use English.
Yeah,
as a
I
means of
mean
communication?
that will change with time because
Uh-huh.
me as a person, if I am on an interview panel and if I feel that the candidate is extremely good and he
Mm,
cannot speak English, I will not really focus on the English part. So that will
mm,
change with time.
mm,
More when more of our generation takes over in the corporate world, that will change with time. Because even if we talk about GBIMS, even if we talk about CET, even if we talk about any job or a college GDPI sort of a process, not everyone went to a fancy convent school or an ICSE school, right? Wherein English is now in your DNA. Most
mm,
of us are from Marathi school, Hindi school. Some of
mm,
us are from SSC school, wherein English
mm,
is like only English teacher speaks English
mm,
in such schools.
mm, mm,
Students don't speak English.
mm, mm.
So that will change over time. But what I would suggest is keep practicing because right now is not the time to change, right? It's in
It's a
transition.
slow transition.
Yeah, it's a slow transition. So for
Do you
you
think the
to
corporates shedding out English though? Do you think the corporates will ever become Hindi only?
देखो यार जो कल्चरल डिस्टॉर्शन होना था वो तो हो गया
हाँ हाँ
ठीक है तो
जो
नाउ टू ओवर
colonialism होना था वो तो हो गया है.
it's done, the damage is already done. Slowly and steadily I see that change happening, but not with immediate effect. Like even when I see in corporates people do speak Hindi, at least me as a person, even in my internships, I did speak a lot of Hindi on purpose because I
On
just thought I
purpose
was able to express myself well,
to make a point.
to make a point. That's it. And it didn't land me up in any sort of trouble or it didn't affect my candidature in any
You were
sense.
speaking Hindi. That's why you're
Yeah,
debarred. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's fine. I mean, I interned at HPCL twice.
Hmm.
You really think in a government organization they would speak all
Of
English? They
course.
won't.
Yeah,
They won't.
yeah.
If, see, the corporate guys, they just want results. Whenever you're joining as an intern, they want results. Now, तुम उसको कैसे present करे? It's up to you.
Mm, exactly,
So
exactly.
just
That's something that we need to
keep
keep
it
in mind.
simple.
Results over presentation any day. Yeah. So talking of you, you also happen to be a student volunteer at NHRDN. How did
Yes,
that
yes.
happen? So what is
Uh,
NHRDN first up for
So
people who don't
NHRDN, the full form is National Human Resource Development Network, NHRDN.
network?
It's basically a network of HR professional
HR
across the country.
professionals.
It's sort of a community. So every year they hire volunteers, wherein we host national conferences. Then there are seminars that are conducted. Along with that, some talk shows, some hour functions, and all of that. What it does allow you is to collaborate with students from different colleges. Like I know a lot of peers from TIS because of
Exactly.
NHRDN. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a lot of TIS pass outs that I know from this particular network. So all in all, it's a good deal. Maybe in life, if I need something or somebody's help, I know the network is always going to be there because I
It
was a part.
allows you to network well for all the HR profession exclusively.
I mean,
And
HR is a very
yeah,
small community, and it's just very important to bring them all together. It's a small community, right? If
yeah.
you compare it with finance and marketing guys.
Exactly. There are a
So
handful of colleges. And the fact that HR domain attracts a lot of heat, a
yeah,
lot of aversion across all the domains of the corporate. That is something that we need to cater to as well. You guys will have your backs. And talking of HR as a profession, so is it not daunting enough when people go out there and ridicule you and make fun of you, telling that,
well,
okay, you guys are only Rangoli makers and all of that?
I will not completely deny the Rangoli making fact. I think HR has evolved a lot from that stage, from the Rangoli making stage to now every decision is taken on the basis of data, right?
Wow.
HRs are now all about data. If you can't speak numbers, you are not an HR
You're not allowed
professional.
to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed to speak. If I mean, HR now gets even a seat at a board meeting table. That and that in and that at that level you cannot make subjective statements. You have to speak numbers, right? Along with that, HRs have also started to understand business really well, and I think most of the institute should focus on that to make HRs understand business, even to the aspirants and the HR aspirants and the candidates listening to this. When I say understanding business, I don't just say that learn about what each domain does, right? We have
Yep.
this perception that uh, if you tell someone learn about business, they feel that okay, I learned what marketing does, I learned what
Exactly.
finance does, now I understand business. When I
Exactly.
say understanding business,
It means
I mean,
understanding all the
yeah,
verticals.
all the verticals. Along with that, not just that, I'll come to that. Understanding business in the sense to understand that in the books of accounts you could be profitable, but your cash flow statement could still be going down. Understanding business at that level, understanding business at an accounting level, understanding business at a macroeconomic level. Like let's say, for example, if I am from cement industry, how
Yeah.
does the Russia and Ukraine war affect the cement industry?
Yep,
And
yep,
in,
yep.
in this whole scenario, me as an HR professional, I cannot be, the typical traditional HR who is empathetic and very people's person and declare that I will give 30% hikes to everyone.
Exactly.
भाई बुक्स
You
ऑफ
have to cut
अकाउंट्स में,
down. You have to
या
restrain.
बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में कैश नीचे जा रहा है भाई, नहीं कर सकते तुम ऐसा.
Mm-hmm.
CEO and CFO will smash you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so slowly and steadily these things are changing. I'll give you a very good example of growth in HR. There was a report that was released by, I don't know, it was Forbes or something, wherein the head HR or CHRO of Wipro was drawing a salary of 6 crores
Mm-hmm.
per annum. Per annum. This is just one example. I'll give you another example. I was working with HPCL, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know who the current chairman and managing director of HPCL is?
Was it a former CHRO?
He was the HR director of HPCL first. Now he's the chairman and managing director. Then we also, of course, have Leena Nayar's example.
Wow.
Then at Bajaj, we had the CEO of NPCI come in for a guest lecture. And that guy didn't bring anyone along with him. He just brought the CHRO along with him. And he declared in the
Wow.
guest lecture that I spend most of my day with this guy. He did not bring any CTO, any CFO, any CMO. He got the CHRO. And he also said that this guy is the driver of my organization. Spending more time with him makes me understand where the business is going.
Wow.
So I think that is
CHROs are really coming
top.
up in the Chanel CEO
Yeah,
part as well, apart
yeah.
from Accelerate. She is
Yeah,
also
now
stellar.
most of the CHROs are taking charge of being a CEO. Slowly and steadily, it will start happening because people have started to realize where the problem lies now. So from Rangoli to taking CEO positions, HR have transitioned a lot, and I think this is like the best time to be in
That's
HR.
a very stark difference from Rangoli to CEO positions.
I will
But
not deny that Rangoli making was never a part of it. Traditionally, it used to happen, and there was also some logic behind it. I'll tell you the logic. I don't know how much of it will make sense to you. Let's say you are slogging from Monday to Thursday,
yeah,
and then HR would organize a fun Friday activity to lighten your mood.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
the employees would be so frustrated that instead of this, you could have given us a leave. And
yeah,
that is where these memes came from. I
yeah.
stopped doing
Exactly,
this.
exactly,
But
exactly.
now things are changing a little bit, and the future is bright for HR as well.
It all boils down to the cash part. We get enough
Yeah,
knowledge from an institute about the different verticals of a specific firm. That is how you go about functioning.
yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. At the end of
If
the day.
if there is any HR professional listening to this, I would recommend you learn accounting. Accounting is the best way you can learn about business.
Wow.
Jump onto other domains later on, but learn
Yeah.
accounting. Now I'm not even asking you to learn advanced accounting. Don't go around, you
Just
know.
basic cash flows and stuff. Balance
Yeah,
sheet, cash
learn
flow.
learn about profit and loss statement, learn about balance sheet, learn about cash flow statement. If you are already a B school person who has gotten an admission, be behind your accounting or finance professor to teach you how do these three things are aligned.
Wow.
It's all about asking smart questions. The faculty is going to come, they're going to teach, and they're going to leave. But if you ask that, no sir or no ma'am, whatever, I want to learn how these three things work in line, can you please explain this to us? Do you think they're going to say no?
Mm. Chances
Cash,
are very
right?
less.
Yeah, cash, right? You develop these habits in B school.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And talking of your B school specifically, is there any way by which you can claim it as the best in the country?
There are several ways I can claim it as a best in the country because it has done the best for me. I think
Nice.
again the best part is a little bit subjective. Everything
Subjective.
boils down. Yeah, everything boils down to what you take out of that B school.
Yeah.
I landed up in a consulting role. It's best for me. So
Yeah.
JBIMS is my alma mater. It's the best for me.
Yeah.
Someone may have not gotten the placement for him. He would say that it was the worst mistake of my life getting admission there. I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
So it's a subjective thing, right?
Exactly. But what is your subjective perspective though? How would you define it as the best college of the country?
Well, the curriculum is amazing. Yeah, the curriculum is amazing. The people that are coming and teaching are amazing. The habits that they're putting you in is amazing. It's a rigorous course. It puts you in a lot of stress that really teaches you how to be, how to function under stress. So
Wow.
that's a habit that you're picking. At the end, like I said, it boils down to cash.
Yeah.
If it's giving you good cash,
Yeah.
KASH,
Exactly.
it's a good B school.
Makes sense. Makes
There
sense.
are there are also some B schools in the country who are extremely high on cash, but the placements are not very good. But those students go out in the industry and bag a good placement. So we
Off
also get to
campus.
get to yeah, we also get to see those scenarios.
Wow, 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 wow. Any specific B schools that you're referring to from that perspective, which are
No,
really having a good?
I don't want to create controversies.
Nice, nice, nice. Now that we've come towards the end of the episode, if there's something that we've been postponing right since the beginning, is the advice part. Of course, we've had a lot of advices from you for the aspirants out there, but what's that specific advice that you want to, point towards them? That yes, this is
Right.
something.
Let's talk about advice now. Before we start with the advice, let me talk about something that I mentioned a few moments ago. That was the Bermuda Triangle of Preparation.
Exactly.
The Bermuda Triangle of Preparation has three things to it. This is just
Yeah.
my theory from my experience that I've made up.
But it's
Okay?
good that you're espousing a theory.
Yeah,
It's really
because
good.
it's just easier to understand and articulate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the Bermuda Triangle theory is about preparation, examination, and failure.
Wow.
This is the loop where all the candidates are stuck in. Either you're stuck in it or you are about to get stuck in it. Like I
Mhm.
said, that I just gave two examinations, I realized something and I got out of the triangle. I just feel that if I wouldn't have had that realization, I would have
Would have been stuck
I
in
would
that
have been
loop.
stuck, yeah, till now. In by I mean, when we talk about the stuck part, I also feel that the classes people are also a little bit responsible for it, for misguiding students just for selling their courses. This could be a little bit controversial, but I don't care anyway,
Yeah.
because as long I'm not afraid of speaking the truth, right?
Yeah.
They tell the candidate that it's okay if you gave 4 or 5 attempts of cat. Why don't you go for a sixth one and you will actually make it? Now the classes person is playing on your fear psychosis. But what you don't realize is, if you look back, you have wasted five years of your life, right? For me, now I'll put in my example here. I gave tests, it didn't work out. I gave CET, it didn't work out. When the CET result came out that night, I thought a lot. What is it that I'm doing wrong? And there is only one thing that came up was, am I really being, honest with myself? Am I really being honest with my preparation? And if you crack this question, you will skip the Bermuda Triangle of preparation. You will skip out the loop, because what happens is that I will tell you. Let's say you are preparing. I mean, you are prepared for CAT, and it may have happened with you as well. You sat with the Quant ka chapter. Let's say percentages.
Mm.
You studied percentages for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours.
Yep.
Now at the end of that 6 to 10 hours, now you are extremely guilty. And oh my god, I spent 8 hours studying percentages. Now, subconsciously, your brain will try tricking you into thinking that, okay, percentage is the base chapter of profit and loss as well, because even there you have a percentage of profit increase and percentage of profit decrease and all of those things, right? So now psychologically you will keep on convincing yourself, no, percentage भी हो गया है, ratio भी हो गया है, that train वाला problem वो भी मैंने कर लिया है just because मैंने
Mm.
percentages master कर लिया. Now when you go to the D day and these questions actually pop out in front of you, now you are lost because you lied to yourself.
Exactly.
And that is how people get stuck into that endless loop. कि ठीक है कोई बात नहीं. And when you are sitting in the examination hall, you will be sweating, and after a point you will tell yourself, अरे कोई बात नहीं, और एक attempt है ना. You are taking these attempts for granted. You are taking these attempts for granted. I think you have to be extremely honest with yourself. That's why I focused a lot on the psychological part. You have
Mm.
to get sorted with yourself psychologically. You just don't treat it as you have got a lot of attempts. 3 attempts, 4 attempts, bus.
Yep.
Have a plan B, have a plan C, have a plan D. But don't listen to those classes people. Don't listen to those LinkedIn gurus who preach a lot of Gyaan, that it's okay if you gave 10 attempts on CAT, it didn't work out. Why? You have to move on in life. You have a family to feed.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense. At the end of
that's
the day, it's all about
yeah,
having a smart
yeah. So this is the
sophisticated.
advice. This is the advice. Just be honest with yourself throughout the journey, because if you go far away from your own self, you'll not be able to find yourself again.
Wow.
The
Wow.
more connected you are with your own self, it's a spiritual aspect that has to be there. Not many people will tell you. You will have to pay money to listen to all of this. Whatever I'm telling you right now,
Yeah,
people will
yeah,
charge you money. I
yeah.
am giving it out for
All the
free.
life coaches out there.
All the
Yeah.
life coaches out there, I am gonna be called out. Maybe even you will get called out. How did you invite this guy? He's shutting down our businesses.
Yeah. But yeah, on
You
a
have
very
to, yeah, you have to crack the psychological game first, without which you just cannot pass
get
any
past.
exam. You
Mm.
can't. So the advice is this: be honest with yourself throughout the journey.
Be honest about your preparation and don't take attempts for granted.
Don't
Like
take
don't
attempts
fall
for
into the
granted.
cycle. Not even
Yeah,
4 attempts. Have 2 attempts at
two
max.
attempts, 2 attempts, 3 attempts. Change your
Yeah.
plan.
Third time is the best thing. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay if you didn't go to IIM Ahmedabad. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. I mean, I'll tell you one hard fact that might land us both in a controversy.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years down the line, none of it is gonna matter.
Wow.
5 years, 10 years down the line, none of this is going to matter because right now, let's say if I end up in a not so good B school,
Mm.
right, and someone ended up in a extremely good B school,
Mm.
right? 5 years, 10 years down the line, do you think they're gonna ask me what school I passed out from?
Not really.
Not really. Not really.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that the good a good B school will not give you an edge. It definitely gives you an edge, but that is not the only
Beyond a
thing
certain
that
threshold,
yeah.
it loses its significance.
In fact, I was while I was interviewing for my final placement, I was having this discussion with my interviewer
Wow. Wow.
because he had asked me some case study based question and I answered in a way, and then he told me that I don't think that B school brand matters after a few years. I'm like, yeah, you're
Acha.
correct. I want the job. You're right.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And
Doesn't
talking of
matter.
that, yeah, and the psychological part as well. People need to prepare themselves psychologically, be honest and sincere with themselves, and
Yeah,
not
and
fall into that loop
yeah,
of preparation.
even while preparing for interviews, I think introduction is the part that is
Make
that
it
gets
home.
taken. Yeah, that takes taken for granted a lot. They're like, अरे मेरे ही बारे में बोलना है ना, सब चल जाएगा. नहीं चलता.
नहीं
I'll tell
चलता.
you. I'll tell you a research that was viral. I think on LinkedIn or somewhere. I don't know. I have a flickering memory of it, which said
Yeah.
that more than 60% of the recruiters make their hiring decision in the
In the
first 10.
introduction itself,
No, 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 no. In the first 10 minutes of
the
the
first 10
interview.
minutes. Acha.
Yeah. But while I was preparing for my finals, I actually broke this 10 minutes up, which I'll
Yeah.
share right now.
Yeah.
Pay attention to this, okay? And tell me if it
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you break this 10 minutes up, I enter the interview room.
Yeah.
1 minute will go in. Hi, hello, how are you? Was there traffic? Did you have food? Blah, blah, blah.
Have your water and all.
Yeah, water जो भी है उसमें चले गए 1-2 minute. Let's
Yeah.
just assume 2 minutes went into having water and all of those things, getting you comfortable.
Yeah.
Third minute, the recruiter will start introducing themselves.
Yeah.
2 minutes, that person will speak. I worked with this organization. I did this. I did that. Blah 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 blah. What minute are we on? Fourth minute.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fifth minute, he will roll the ball in your court. Right now, for the next 2 minutes, assuming that you'll speak for 2 minutes, you will be speaking for the next 2 minutes. Right now, we have arrived at the sixth minute. That is more than 50% of those 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So the introduction part is actually responsible for more than 50% of those first 10 minutes. Then imagine how important it is. That is when the recruiter will decide whether to give you more time or not. That is when the recruiter will be like, okay, do I ask him more questions or do I just do
Skip.
goodbye to him? Yeah, skip the candidate and move on to other candidates. That is why whenever you're preparing an introduction, don't just go as say like you just got up, had a shower, dressed up, and
Just
went to the interview. your interview, I mean, your introduction have to have a flow. There has to have a lot of hooks in whatever you speak, using which the interview will be, driven in your direction.
Hmm.
It's an art. You have to practice it. It won't happen overnight. Like I will tell you some sections right now, if I have to, but you can't just copy paste these sections. You'll have to mold and see what works for you.
Make it
That
subjective to your own self.
that comes with a lot of practice. You'll have to give a lot of mocks कि यार जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, is it making sense? Is it hook enough? Like if I'm mentioning something about NHRDN in my introduction for that matter, am I speaking something really unique about NHRDN that is acting as a hook based on which the recruiter will ask me a question or not? If not, cut it out. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Exactly.
Like I'll tell you one of the introduction that has worked really fine for me. I'll just tell you the section. Initially, it will start with the education vagera.
Yeah.
Second section would be work experience or / internship, whatever. Next, I would go on to the social work part that I did. Okay. Fourth, I would go on to my professional football wala part. Fifth, I would go to my hobbies and everything. Now, if you see the flow of this,
Very well structured.
yeah, it is a well structured thing, and it has worked wonders for me. I'm not saying that just copy paste this and use it for
Make
your
it to your own whims and
make it.
fancies.
Just don't mess up with the first two sections. Rest you can interchange a lot of things here and there, because the moment I start with my introduction, now the recruiter is listening. भाई इसने तो फुटबॉल भी खेला हुआ है प्रोफेशनली, ये एनएचआरडीएन का भी पार्ट है, इसने सोशल वर्क
Business
भी करा
social
हुआ है,
work भी कर रखा है.
हाँ सोशल वर्क भी इसने इतना करा हुआ है, ये अभी जेबी में भी पढ़ रहा है, इसने इंटर्नशिप भी अच्छी खासी करी हुई है. नाउ आई हैव गिवन हिम सो मेनी हुक्स कि वो मेरे को 10 मिनट के अंदर रूम के बाहर भेजेगा ही नहीं. He has to hold on to me because I have thrown a lot of hooks. He can catch on to any hook he wants.
It's all about giving hooks at the end of the day when it's your introduction.
Anything that is not a hook, I genuinely and I personally believe that should not be part of your introduction. You have to make it extremely interesting, because the 10 minutes breakup that I just shared, that is something that will decide.
Impactful.
You could be preparing for CAT for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you could mess up those 10 minutes.
Of VARC.
Yeah. I mean, no, not VARC. I am talking about the interview part.
Interview. Acha.
Yeah, you could be preparing for CAT for 2 years. You could go in the interview round. You could mess up those 10 minutes. Out. Third attempt. Fourth attempt. You could be applying for a job from the last 2 years. You could mess up these first 10 minutes. Out.
10 minutes are really influential.
That is how important an introduction is. Once the introduction part is done, then the interview can just free flow the way it wants.
Exactly. Once you're comfortable enough, and then move at your pace, give them enough hooks.
You eventually get comfortable once the introduction. That is the most difficult part, because that will decide whether the recruiter wants to give you time or not. Whether he wants to spend his half an hour, 40 minutes with you or not.
Exactly.
Because you are not the only candidate that is sitting outside the room, right? We can take another example.
You have to shine out.
Yeah. Let's say if I am a candidate who went in and who just gave a very random introduction, any random order, I have spoken anything, I have told what my family does, how many members I have, and then there is you who went in with an extremely structured introduction, keeping that 10-minute research time frame in mind, that you have realized that, okay, this covers more than 50%, this has high chances of me landing up on this job or this institute. They will of course prefer you over me. Yeah, because you are that well prepared, well structured, and of course speak simple English. Keep it extremely simple.
Fundamental block.
Yeah, because I have seen a lot of candidates do this. Even while I was preparing, we would have those prep groups, right? They would use extremely fancy jargons that I would not understand.
Yeah.
I genuinely would not understand. And now what happens is that you have prepared based on those jargons. Now you have another pressure of remembering those jargons. When you're stressed,
and you're constantly anxious about them.
It's gone. When you're stressed, you are blank. You are a blank slate, and that is when your simple strategy, simple preparation, simple English will come into play. Yeah,
exactly.
You have to, even while you're answering, whenever if you're asked something about your work experience, this is also one of the major mistakes a lot of candidates make. They directly start telling whatever work they've done in an organization. That is really not the way you should answer. So there is something called a STAR approach, which is situation, task. I don't know what A and R stands for. R is for results and A is for action. So yeah, action. So situation, task, action,
result.
Yeah. So you're supposed to answer it in this frame, but I have simplified it even more. Me being the simple guy, I've simplified it even more. I'm like, इतना structure अगर मेरे को याद नहीं रहा तो मेरे तो लग गए, मैं तो गया. I'll be out, right? I'll be out.
Yeah.
Just play a very simple trick. Just give a one-liner background about whatever work you have done to the recruiter and start with whatever you have done.
Yeah.
Instead of situation and then what you did and what was the action and what was the result.
Exactly.
Candidates will go on and they'll just read out whatever is there on their CV. वो रट्टा मार के जाते हैं and then they just start speaking that out. But you have to give some background. Let's say you have written on your CV something really fancy. Spearheaded a team of 20 plus employees and drove revenue of 150 crores, whatever. But me as an interviewer, I want to know why were you chosen? Why were you spearheading a team of 20? What was the reason? Give me some background that, okay, organization was on this situation. I joined this organization.
You got the opportunity.
I got the opportunity. I was the chosen one. I led the team and then we drove the result.
Makes sense.
Very simple, very simple. I mean,
sticking to basics, being simple in your language and having that clarity.
Yeah, classes people will not tell you this.
Exactly. Classes people
not tell you this.
They want to keep you trapped. But But
You
that
are a cash cow for them, right? उनका रोजी रोटी तुमसे चल रहा है. You are a cash cow.
yeah, yeah,
Even
exactly.
even today when someone comes up to me and says that whether they should join a class or not, I'm like, self preparation is enough if you're honest with yourself.
Mm.
If you want to join something, then you may take up something for quants, but
Mm.
also I don't recommend the fancy ones.
Mm-hmm.
I just ask them to stick with some sort of home tuition or some home tutor if you have any in your
Mm.
locality. Just get that guy.
Makes
Because
sense. Makes
yeah,
sense.
you will go to them, no bullshit. They'll teach you, you leave, or that person will come home. They'll
Mm.
get your concepts clear. They'll leave.
Mm-hmm. The coaching
Networking वगैरह,
institution at
yeah,
the end of the day is like a push
it's
when
a
you're not
push.
pushing yourself.
I have not really had a good experience with coaching institutes throughout my life. So that is where this narrative comes from. Because the coaching
Likewise,
institutes, I'll tell you what are the coaching institutes that are famous for 10th, 12th?
time C. Oh, for 10, 12th.
This is just an
Akash,
example. Let's just not
Prithvi.
take any names.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, Sukesh tutorial. Let's
Yeah,
just say there's a class is called as Sukesh
yeah,
tutorials.
yeah.
They will claim that if you join us, we will make your son or daughter a topper.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, when you join that, they will not really pay attention to the average and below average students. They'll only focus on toppers.
Exactly.
They'll take up their face. They'll put a banner. Now again, cash is getting generated. Students like
Mm-hmm.
us, nobody wants to talk about us.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares.
That's what
So
happens in the IIT circuits as well when we talk of coaching centers down south. That is exactly what happens.
that is the harsh reality of society, and I think somewhere parents and candidates need to have a talk with each other and to sort these things out, that it's okay to not go to a higher institute. I mean, if
And be
anyone listens
honest
to
with
this
themselves.
podcast, just be honest with yourself. If you really want to get into IIT, IIM, whatever, if you're honest with yourself, you will make it. It is that simple. I'm a very big fan of Mahabharat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very big fan of Mahabharat. And you know, when I look at all the aspirants and all the candidates, I just categorize these people into two categories. You
Mm-hmm.
know, two characters, Arjuna and Karna.
Karna.
Yeah, some are privileged but extremely confused on what to do.
Yeah.
So you know,
Some are talented but are
some
not
are
privileged.
talented but belong to that part of the society wherein they are looked down upon. But they
Exactly.
have that fire inside them. Eventually, they make it. But the
Yeah.
journey is extremely difficult. So
Mm.
this is where the society,
Comes into play.
yeah, it has been divided in that manner.
Exactly.
So the whole
Exactly.
point is, if you have the fire, if you work hard, you will make it.
Most
But
of the things will fall.
you have to be extremely honest with yourself.
Being honest is as underrated as it gets. Yeah. That was a pretty elaborate advice. That was the pretty elaborate advice with all the examples in the world and all the strategies that could help an aspirant get way better than what he is. And with that, we come towards the end of the episode, Siddesh. It was really fun listening to all of the things that you helped me with, all of the information right from Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, to your experiences as a JBIMS student. It was lovely to hear to you. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for agreeing to do this as well.
Thank you so much, Kripal. I think you are doing a fantastic job, because I genuinely wish that we had some sort of podcast that we could listen to when I was preparing. I may have not
Exactly.
even missed out on TIS if
Exactly.
I would have had this, structured sort of a podcast on MBA series. And also, thank you. I'll thank you for one more thing, because
Uh-huh.
you have made me kept a promise that I made to myself. Because growing up, I was an average and below average student. And
Uh-huh.
the moment I made it to JBIMS, I made myself one promise that I'll always be there for the students community,
Wow.
especially the average and below average students.
Wow.
Whatever way I can, whatever I
Wow.
have to share, I will share openly,
Exactly.
even if it lands me in trouble.
The
Right,
life
so
coach part. Yeah.
you have let me keep my own promise, so thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for inviting me. This was extremely fun, and I
Absolutely.
enjoyed a lot.
Likewise. Likewise. So yeah.